Russian troops are reportedly concentrating their efforts on conducting offensives toward Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Marinka in Donetsk Oblast. Ukrainian forces repelled more than 70 Russian attacks in those directions on March 31, the General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces said in its morning update. Over the past 24 hours, Russia launched 5 missiles, 16 airstrikes, and close to 40 MLRS attacks targeting civilian infrastructure. Russian forces also launched at least 6 Shahed-136 drones. All of those were downed by Ukraine's air defense. The General Staff warned that the threat of Russia's air and missile strikes remains high throughout Ukraine. The Ukrainian Air Force conducted 10 strikes against Russian temporary bases on March 31. The victims of alleged atrocities committed in the town of Bucha during Russia's occupation have been commemorated today on the anniversary of the town's liberation. The leaders of Slovakia, Moldova, Slovenia, and Croatia joined Volodymyr Zelensky to pay their respects in Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky has said Ukraine would never forgive Russian troops for alleged atrocities in Bucha, 1 year after its recapture. Mass graves and torture chambers are among the subjects of 9,000 war crimes under investigation, Kyiv said. International investigators are collecting evidence in Bucha and Irpin, where Ukraine says Russian troops committed large-scale atrocities, allegations Russia denies. The town was captured by Russia for 33 days after its initial invasion, resulting in 1,400 deaths, including 37 children, Kyiv said. Mr. Zelensky added, "We will never forget the victims of this war, and we will certainly bring all Russian murderers to justice." More than 8,400 civilians have been killed since Russia invaded Ukraine, according to the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. Prisoners have been tortured, summary executions carried out, and children forcibly deported, Volker Turk told the Human Rights Council. "This war defies any reason. This madness must end, and peace be found," he said. More than 14,000 wounded civilians have been verified, largely caused by wide-impact explosives used by Russia, he said. Russian military forces had carried out numerous summary executions and targeted attacks on civilians, as well as 621 enforced disappearances and arbitrary detentions. The UN Human Rights Office documented Ukrainian security forces carried out 91 enforced disappearances and arbitrary detentions, 53% of whom had been tortured or ill-treated soon after capture, he said. Finland will join NATO within days, said the alliance's head, doubling the size of the organization's border with Russia. The Nordic country finally received the green light after Turkey ratified its membership late last night. All members must vote unanimously to admit a new country into NATO. Up until now, Finland's attempts to join the bloc had been thwarted by its desire to pursue a joint bid with Sweden, which Turkey opposed. Jens Stoltenberg, NATO Secretary General, said today, all 30 NATO allies have now ratified the accession protocol. Finland, which shares an 832-mile border with Russia, will formally join our alliance in the coming days, he said. The war in Ukraine is in real danger of becoming World War III, the Hungarian Prime Minister has said. Viktor Orban said the West threatens to draw other countries into the conflict by providing military aid to Ukraine. The right-wing populist leader has called for peace talks but not directly criticized Russia for its invasion. "I am convinced that the threat of world war is not a literary exaggeration," he said. "When European and American leaders say that if this continues, we may end up in World War III, it sounds unbelievable and exaggerated at first, but where I work and where I see the events, this is a real danger at this moment." The president of Belarus, a staunch ally of Vladimir Putin, has called for an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine. Alexander Lukashenko said there should be no preconditions for talks, but Ukraine's anticipated counteroffensive would make negotiations impossible. U.S. analysts see any immediate ceasefire as a tactic to enable Russia to hold on to Ukrainian territory it has seized and give its forces time to regroup. In an address to the nation, President Lukashenko went on to accuse the West of building up military forces in Poland to invade and destroy Belarus. He said this decision to allow Russia to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus was a chance to safeguard the country from Western threats.
Audio